Hi everybody and welcome back to All Talk Scottish Premiership. It is the final episode of the season. I know we're only 11 episodes in, but so it's the final one. I hope you've all been enjoying. Last week was a really kind of big week for the show. We get quite a lot of listeners, probably the most listeners we've actually ever got. A lot of views on the YouTube as well. And me and Brooklyn have our own TikTok pages. We also both put videos out on that of like talking points, and they got quite good traction as well. So thanks to everybody who's kind of sharing the show and watching it and enjoying it. And if you're not enjoying it, get it up you pretty much. That's all I've got to say. But thank you to our sponsors as well, VSN. They've been good to us. And yeah, just thanks very much so far. And as I said, we don't know for sure yet, but this is probably going to be our last one for a couple of weeks, so me and Brooklyn can have some time off for this hard graft that we do. But how are you, Brooklyn? Are you good?
Well, mate, I'm as good. I always kind of start with the same thing. I'm as good as you can be, but both of us have been victims to some illegal activity recently, to a car crash apiece.
Yes.
So right now I'm recording in the car, but not the usual one anyway. But I mate, other than that, I'm doing good, mate. Cheers.
That's good. It's good to hear. I know we've both succumbed to some serious injuries, and that's not a joke. Nothing to joke about. But basically, I do have a question for Brooklyn straight away, actually. And sorry to everybody who is tuned in for the Scottish football side of things, but it is to do with Ange Postecoglou because Brooklyn actually is a Man. And I always remember Brooklyn's a Man U fan and a Rangers fan. When Ange won the treble with Celtic, I was in the Counting House pub with Brooklyn. There's a few counting houses, so we've not given away our location there. Where he watched Manchester City win a treble as well. So I didn't think it could get any worse for him. And then Big Ange just went down south and got Spurs their first trophy in 17 years against Man U. But the question is, since I've already asked how you're feeling, the question is, does that make Ange, because we had this debate and it was a very good debate, and I think it wasn't a debate because we agreed, does that make Ange a better manager than Rodgers now he's got European success?
Again, it's hard, right? Because you look at the team that Rodgers built at Liverpool. I mean, they came within like touching distance of winning the league. If it wasn't for a certain guy who probably will get on to later, relating back to one of my clubs. But so you look at that and you go, he built a good Liverpool side, but he has Sturridge and Suarez and both at a prime sort of thing. And do you know, mate? It sounds ridiculous because winning a European trophies, it's so difficult, which it's shown. Obviously, United couldn't do it, Rangers couldn't do it a couple of years ago. But that Ange, just the performance last night, mate, I don't even want to talk about it.
Do you know what I like as well? But how, for the first time ever, he actually changed something and he went 5 at the back. I was like that. Oh, he knows, because he knows the criticism he would have come under. And see, to be fair, I thought he'd done it way too early. See, like sitting back, that it was still 12 minutes to go. I was like, he's done that way too early. But that's why he's the manager of Tottenham, and I'm sitting in my room talking about him. But it was, I did say to my pal, this is either going to be a 1-0 or like a 5-4. It's not going to be like any in between. It was going to be that, and obviously we got the kind of worst out of the two options, but obviously fair dues to him. And like, see, to be fair, I know everybody going about it, but that quote from him is insane. I always win in my second season, and he did go and do it. You can't argue with that. Really.
I think to be fair, right, I think he needs to do good next season. He needs to do something, whether it be.
He'll get next year. I don't think he will.
I think he gets next year. I think Tottenham kind of create a rod for their own back because, like you're saying, it's the first trophy Tottenham have won in 17 years. Tottenham have been renowned for being serial losers. If Daniel Levy goes now and sacks Ange after bringing not just a trophy but a European trophy to Tottenham, I think the fans basically come out and they'll say it was the wrong thing to do, and they'll start saying that Ange wasn't backed. That wouldn't be true because Ange has spent over 200, maybe close to 300 million on signings at Tottenham. So he's probably one of the only managers that's actually been backed by Levy. But I think he'll get next season, or at least he'll get probably much like the St Johnstone manager. I know it's a mental comparison, but I think it's the idea of they'll get the summer, they'll get the pre-season, and they'll get a few weeks. I think if they don't have good results come maybe this kind of October, then you might look to see that a change will be made. But I think they'll give him the pre-season, they'll give him the backing, because all you know that he's going to do is he's just going to point towards, well, I've had X, Y, and Z injured. And to be honest, that's why I fancied United last night. I looked at Tottenham. Son was only fit enough to start on the bench. There was no Maddison, there was no Bergval. Richarlison started, who has barely kicked his arse all season. Starts last night and looks incredible.
Yeah,
So I think he'll get a bit of time, and I think if he does well next season, whether that be, you know, provide giving him maybe an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup, or just even doing better in the league, you know, even if he gets kind of top 6, top 7, I think at that point there needs to be serious conversations that he is a much better manager than Rodgers, because he's also obviously had the 4 years in the national team, so he can
yeah.
point towards European dominance in Scotland, Japan, well, European Japan, fucking hell, one of those days, mate, innit? Um, but he's got success across the world now.
Yeah.
He obviously he done well with Australia, so I think he's there's definitely an argument for both sides.
Do you think this kind of the last question I've got on it? Would you say Tottenham has had a better season than Arsenal?
I think, mate,
Would you what fan would you rather have been this year? Put it that way.
I'd rather been a Tottenham fan. I
Aye.
think
Now you would
Arsenal,
have. Now you would have.
mate,
Aye.
Arsenal are running that risk of being the nearly club, where every single season it's, aye, but we've done this, or oh, if we changed this, or if we've done that, they're really getting to a point now where they need to do something.
Mm.
Because it's that way where United have been awful for probably 10 years now. But even if you compare it to the last 5 where Arteta's been in charge, United have actually been more successful.
Yeah.
We've made a final in the last 3 seasons. I think we've won 2 trophies in the last 3 seasons, and that's probably during the club's worst period of my lifetime anyway. So I as an Arsenal fan, they're really becoming an early club where they are. At the end of the day, like 17 years and 5 years is a drastic difference, but how long do Arsenal give it not winning trophies where you start to look at them and go, something needs to change?
Yeah. I would say I'm going to have a shout here. Actually, I believe there will be a team out with Liverpool and City that still win the league before Arsenal, like a Chelsea, Newcastle, maybe. Like I honestly believe there'll be, or a Man U, that these teams will come good again and win a league before Arsenal do. I just think Arteta has really not been good enough, and it's just like who can that like who would go to Arsenal and do maybe a better job than him? And I know that's maybe a mental shout, but I'm just like I feel like now there's not that many great managers out there. Like there's only like maybe a handful of like top class managers that would go into Arsenal and win them the league, but they top class managers are not going to go to Arsenal. Like Antonio Conte, I would say is a top class manager, no going to Arsenal. Ancelotti's just went to Brazil. The Barcelona manager Flick, he would never go to Arsenal. Simeone, man, he's never leaving Atletico. So there's not a manager out there, I believe, that would take Arsenal to Premier League success. So that's my shout. But obviously a tough one for you. Big Ange is really terrorising you. But talking about managers, we're going to actually start with obviously the man that I back every week. We're going to start with McInnes and also his mate, his former assistant Tony Docherty. One of them has went into a job after, well, they've had a job and went into a new one, and one of them's lost a job. So McInnes to Hearts has kind of been on the writing for maybe 2 weeks. And he wasn't in the dugout at the game at the weekend, and Hearts actually beat Killie 1-0 after being down to 10 men for a while. So what do you think about that? Do you think it can, obviously it's a good appointment, but do you think it's going to change much in the sense where, like, do you think he'll take Hearts to like maybe a top 4 finish next year? Do you think that's possible?
Aye, I said last week, I think the McInnes appointment's a very good appointment. I think you could see that they're going to make, I think I said last week, I can see them winning a trophy. Even I think, worst case, I think they're going to be in the semi-finals or finals, depending obviously if they get one of the Old Firm teams. I still think they'll one of the 2 Old Firms will have too much for them. But when McInnes was manager, like I said, the investment as well, you would back them to have a good season. Uh, a- Again, like David Gray's shown he's a good manager at the other side of Edinburgh, but I would always fancy McInnes with good resources against the majority of managers in that league. So I could see them getting a kind of top three, top four finish, like I said, making a final, possibly two. Um, they don't have European football next season, so they can only focus domestically. I think that's going to be a good thing for McInnes. It gives them more time,
Mhm.
in the kind of training pitch, getting to know the players. I've seen today that the chief execs came out and said they've offered Shankland a new deal again. You could see a world where, because McInnes has came in, he sits Shankland down and says to him, "Look, you are the person I'm going to build this team around. I know this season Shankland's not really been in the squad as much." McInnes sits him down. He says, "Look, you're going to be the main guy. You're still the captain. I'm going to build it around you. These are the names I'm going to bring in." I don't think it's out the realm of possibility that Lawrence Shankland now signs a new deal. But at the same time, McInnes with Rangers links before, does McInnes just be honest with him and just say, "Look, you're a boyhood Rangers fan. This is your last chance. I'm not going to hold it against you if you go and play for them." I mean, again, we're saying this, everyone else in media is saying it. Shankland's never really once came out and said he wants to join Rangers. It's just everyone obviously saying he's a Rangers fan, he's got a contract, but there's never been, even the kind of last summer, I don't think there was anything concrete that Rangers necessarily put in a bid. I think it was just inquired about him and they were told it was upwards of 5 million. Uh, but I think Shankland is going to stay. I think McInnes is going to get them, like I said, top three, top four, a cup final, and he's going to bring that kind of feel good factor back. In Tynecastle's never an easy place to go, and I think it's really going to be a situation next season where they're going to make that a fortress.
Well, he's really making his way around. I mean, that's St Johnstone he's managed. He went down south for a bit. Aberdeen, Kelly, now Hearts. So before Scottish teams he's managed, and I think he'll be good as well. Obviously, the Shankland thing, Rangers need a massive clear out. I said that. I was at Rangers need to stop the. I know I've just moved on to Rangers there, but what I mean by that is I said Rangers need to stop the whole build a team around this guy. Like, just build a full team. So I think Rangers might have a clear out because obviously they've got Dessers and Danilo. And if they bring Shankland in, you've technically, for Rangers standards, got three first choice strikers there, and I believe all three of them will want to play. I know Big Danilo doesn't play much, but he'll want to start getting game time. Dessers was top. Mentally say Dessers top goal scorer in the league this year, and I think he's a good big striker. And Shankland, I mean, I don't know Shankland, but I don't imagine he'll want to go to Rangers and sit on the bench. He would want to be their number one striker. So it's maybe a lot for him to think as well. Yeah, you're getting your boyhood club, but you're going there to maybe sit on the bench. So I think if any manager would convince him to stay, it would be like a Derek McInnes. So that will be interesting. Obviously, it seemed to be it's going to be the Derek McInnes derby now. Fuck's sake! But obviously, Kelly played Hearts at the weekend. And it was 1-0 to Hearts, a latish goal, with Hearts going down to 10 men in the first half as well. So,
Do you think that was a red?
it's one of the ones, man. It's like the last game of the season. Just leave it. Just leave
Mate,
it.
do you know, see for me, right, I think it's quite harsh. See the tackle, right? And that's the kind of main argument with VAR as well, is if you slow any incident down and watch 500 replays and watch it in certain angles, it's gonna look bad. If you slow it right down, most tackles in football are gonna look bad. But I think there is an argument where the defender pushes him. I think the boy comes in for the back of him. He gives Dan a nudge. He tries to control the ball, and his foot's went over it. I
Yeah.
think it's that way where if you look at the still image, you go, "That's a leg breaker. It's a straight red." But if you actually watch it in real time, where everything has happened, I think it's harsh.
I can see both sides. I can see both sides. And obviously, Danda, I mean, he was good at Ross County. It's not really worked out for him at Hearts this year. But he's one of the players where I think it would be good for Hearts to keep. As a squad player, I don't think he's been that great this year. But obviously, he got an early bath on the final day of the season. But so the same with Kelly as well. Obviously, this week, we didn't know this at the time, but this week Tony Docherty then got sacked, who used to be McInnes's manager. I kind of thought that he would maybe go join McInnes, but at the same time, he has done well as a manager. So does he want to kind of just stick to? I mean, they've both got their own set of staff now. Is it this sort of case where Tony Docherty just follows McInnes's footsteps and just goes to
Nah,
seeing us out with a Kelly job, maybe? Do you
nah,
think?
mate. I think again that's like I don't want to fall into that trap. People just being so lazy and just people started doing that with managers now. What they used to do with players is the fact oh, he's been there before, or oh, so and so. It's the same trodden path. I
Well,
don't
there's
see
talk
Tony
of
Dock.
Naismith. He was a
There is
former
talk.
manager,
But this is what I mean. I think it's just lazy journalism at this point. Where will Kilmarnock look within the leagues? I mean, Tony Dockett done extremely well. He plays good football, but I think Kilmarnock, when you look at it, they've just avoided relegation. They've lost one of the kind of more renowned, better managers in Scottish football. Do Kilmarnock really look at their situation right now and go, we're going to take a gamble on someone that wants to play attractive, open football? I think Kilmarnock are going to not panic as such, but I think they've got to go for a more defensive coach. I don't see them going for a Tony Docherty where but it's a I know any manager gamble, but I'd say Tony Docherty. It seems like every week this is happening, mate, but once again, the joys of sitting in a car in lovely Scottish weather is that your phone overheats, mate. Anything to avoid
It's
the
to be
traffic,
raining.
but
It's to
eh?
be rain. It's to be raining at the weekend and next week. I can't wait for it. It's getting too much at the minute. The
Mate,
sun.
I'll be honest. It will be the most Scottish thing ever. We'll be all buzzing for rain, then it'll rain for about 3 months straight, and then we'll all miss this period. But
No.
aye, mate, for me, the rain can't come quick enough. But talking about when it rains, it pours, as we said. Kilmarnock, McInnes leaving, it does leave them in a sticky situation. I don't think Tony Dock goes there. I was just saying that I think it's a big risk, mate. Like they like I said, they won't panic as such, but they do need to get someone in to get it right. And I don't think that squad's ready for the likes of Tony Dock to come in and start playing attacking, free flowing football. Because you would fancy McInnes being a better manager than Tony Dock. Do you think Kilmarnock are going to look at their situation and go, we've just lost a manager who he's a great reputation, but he did almost get relegated. Do they want to then bring in another manager who just avoided relegation that's really going to come in with the same ideologies? I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, it's done deal. Obviously, I know they were still down in the bottom, but obviously they finished their season with a 2-0 win against St Johnstone. It's just mental for Dundee because I mentioned it before. They lost Luke McEwen, who was their captain and probably best player on transfer day, on transfer deadline day. Like it was hard for them, and obviously they got them top 6 last year. So it's mental for them because I honestly couldn't give you a name on who they bring in. Like, the only name I can think of for Killie and Dundee is if they don't come up, would be Martindale. That's the
I
only
don't
name I can
think,
think of.
mate, I don't think Martindale take. I know it's potentially, like you're saying, if they don't go up, it's going back into Premiership. But no disrespect, but Kilmarnock, I mean, is it really a massive step up compared to Livy? Especially when a couple of years ago, like I said, well, Lincoln, Martindale with some jobs down south, he was getting linked with Rangers, he was getting linked with Hearts. I think Hibs at one point, I don't see him going after all these years and staying loyal to Livy. I don't see him going to Kilmarnock, mate, to be honest. Especially with the season that he's just had, like it looked as if Falkirk were going to run away with the league. And I know obviously they started to stumble and falter, but that was also probably because Livy started to breathe in their necks,
I know.
which, I mean, you've seen before, obviously, teams can saunter the league, but the minute they drop points, you still need someone to come in and put pressure on, which, look, we're talking about Arsenal earlier, Arsenal failed to do. They don't capitalise. Livy did. So I don't see Martindale leaving. I think Dundee probably will get someone from within the leagues. I think Kilmarnock might actually look abroad or at least down south. Who I don't know, but I don't know if they're going to bring in someone just because of a Scottish Premiership name sort of thing. I think it's maybe a more of an external appointment more than internal throughout the leagues.
Just so we sort of covered Kelly and Hearts there. Obviously, Hearts got the win. They were both technically managerless at the weekend there, which was weird. So Hearts got the 1-0 win. Just quickly before we go on to the we covered the Dundee game as well. They're really 2-0 against St Johnstone. Pretty not much to say about St Johnstone. I would like them to keep their manager though. I don't feel like he done a terrible job. And I think it would be good for them to stick to their manager as well. I feel like it would be a real big mistake for them to get rid of him. And because I think getting rid of him after being there could possibly and not he didn't do a terrible job. I mean,
You can't remember his name, can you?
No, Valicari.
Fair dues, mate. Fair dues.
I say his name. I was just getting mixed up with something because I went to say something and I read something else, so it threw me off. But they got to a semi-final, and see, honestly, when you look at it, I think if they either got Aberdeen or Hearts, I mean, they were in with a 50-50 chance of getting to a final, and this isn't in an arrogant way. If you get Celtic in a semi-final, it's no 50-50. Straight up, it isn't 50-50.
Well, mate, see, the thing is, I think I said before, if he struggles in the first few games down the Championship, St Johnstone will panic and St Johnstone will sack him. And see if they sack him, I think St Johnstone could be in serious trouble of getting back-to-back relegations.
Yeah, I think they don't have a bad team, but I think that momentum could happen if they get rid of him. And obviously, the momentum, obviously, they didn't lose at the weekend, but the momentum is not on the side of Ross County. And I did say to you, and you agreed with me, to be fair, if Dundee are in the playoff position, I think they beat either Livy or Thistle, because at this point we didn't know who was through, so Livy went through. But I think if Ross County are in the playoff, I think they're more likely to get beat. So obviously, at the time of recording, right now we're recording, Livy and Ross County are still to play each other. By the time this came out, the first leg will have happened. I do believe Livy come up, man. I can't be arsed with them, I'm going to be honest. That's Livy fans coming for them, me now.
I fancy Livy as well. I'll be honest, I really do. I think again, Livy going through those playoff rounds and looking so comfortable, to be honest. They've dominated. As I said, they were at one point they were miles away for the league, and then they came within touching distance, literally final day, of potentially winning it. Yeah. They have all the momentum behind them, and Ross County just look defeated. Like they just look as if they're void ideas. So I can see, especially the first leg. Second leg, it will be difficult to go away to County, but I can see Livy at the bare minimum winning tonight.
I think Livy come up, and Ross County could be in a bit of bother of not coming back up as well. I mean, they've got some players there that they might lose. Ronan Hale has actually been called up to the Northern Ireland squad as well. I'd be really surprised if they keep him. Like I could see like a Kelly or something taking him. To be honest, I like Ronan Hale. I think he's quite a good striker. So, and a draw for Motherwell as well. Obviously, it will be interesting to see their sort of outgoings. They've got quite a big squad. I think I actually heard somewhere, that they have 36 players or something like that. So, a lot of outgoings for them as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. But yeah, County in the playoffs and we're possibly. I mean, nothing against Livy. Like obviously, I think what it is with Livy is I just like watching football, and I'm not saying Ross County sell out their fucking their stadium, right? But I just like watching football and having people in the crowd, and Livy don't have that. Do you know what I mean? And neither does St Johnstone, but I suppose it's good for maybe the likes of Rangers and Celtic who take the free stands at Livy if Livy come up. But it'll be interesting to see who comes up. So, that's really the sort of bottom half. Kind of spoke about there. So the way it played out was St Johnstone on 32 points, Ross County on 37, Dundee on 41, Kelly, who we thought would end up in the playoff spot, on 44. Motherwell on 49 and Hearts on 52. Who actually finished on more points than sixth place St Mirren. But that's Scottish football. We've got to love that.
I called that. If you play it back, I think 2 episodes ago, I called that exact same scenario to happen.
Well, to be fair, St Mirren were on track for 53 points until the main man, we've got to talk about him, James Forrest on the wing. Incredible. Honestly incredible. And it's like, see, I seen a thing, it was like football is scripted, and I'm like, I don't know if you remember this a couple of years ago, but Billy McNeil passed away. Obviously, 1967, Celtic won the European Cup and they wore the number 5. And the game after he passed away, Celtic played Killie, and Jozo Simunovic wore the number 5 and he scored on the 67th minute. And I was like, that's one of the most like incredible things where I've went, what the hell, man? Like, how's that happened? But that, like, honestly, that's one of the biggest cheers I've heard for like a Celtic game against like a St Mirren. Oh, it was crazy. But the game was terrible. St Mirren's game plan worked a treat. Obviously, up to a point, they were in Europe. So they did. St Mirren did well. I don't think they did anything exceptional. I think it was like an end of season feel, but Celtic were just kind of like, we've got a bigger game next week. I thought. And look, you're going to be like, I told you so. I'm not saying you were always right, but Engels was poor, really, really, really poor. But also on that, I thought Bernardo was poor. I just, big scales, still not. I feel bad for Naroki. I don't know. He must fucking fart
By
on
the
the
way,
face and train or something, man. I don't know what it's up to. But it was a poor game, but it was ended by a magical moment from James Forrest.
firstly, social media pleasantly surprised me this week. When you kind of mentioned at the start about us posting TikToks, I expected to get just basically called all the bigoted names, to be honest, mate. But quite good arguments, quite good debates in the comments for it. So I did enjoy that. The engagement was good, and as I said, I was taken aback because you just expect, to be fair, when you post a comment about one of the old firm clubs that you just you know what to expect usually. I think, to be honest, it's one of those things for Forrest where it sounds mental, but I don't think he actually gets enough appreciation. See, as a Rangers fan, especially when we've not had a right winger since Daniel Candeias. So obviously we had Cherny this season, but everyone knew he was in for a season. Then he's away again. Mate, James Forrest he's just old Mr. Reliable. That's the thing. Like, for years, it's the argument Scott Brown that he just gets it. Cal McGregor, he just gets it. Then you've got the players that come and go, like Fraser Forster, Van Dijk. Everyone reminisces about all these. It's kind of like similar to the Ange Rodgers debate. People reminisce about these players that come in for maybe just a season or two, and it's always them spoken about. Forrest has been there, mate, for 16 seasons. Scored in every single season.
I have never, I've never slaughtered him. If he makes a mistake, I say something. I've never not been a fan of him. I think the goals he has scored, yes, he has never scored at Ibrox. I don't even think he's ever got an assist at Ibrox, right? So there's a stat for you. Do you want to know a mental stat, just quickly? Patrick Roberts has only ever won 6 headers in his football career.
Mate, I've seen that. It was in like he's played at 300 professional games or something, if no more. I've seen that.
One of them was like a goal versus Motherwell, but I don't know if that's classed as winning a header. Winning a header's going up with somebody. He was unmarked when he scored that, but I mental stat. But he has scored in the Champions League. He's probably scored in the Europa League. Cup finals, League Cup finals, Scottish Cup finals. He has scored against Rangers. I remember that goal where he just wiggled in about 3 players and smashed it in. He scored a winner against Rangers at Parkhead to beat these 2-1. He's scored some big goals, got some massive assists, and he's been part of some really, really tough moments, obviously, with the 10 in a row season, but he's been part of some incredible moments. And by the way, he's not finished. He's still got another year. And watch him score like the first goal of next season, but watch him just score in the first game. But Roger said last year he's the best winger at the club. Mate, people kind of laughed, but then see when he came into the team last year, I wouldn't say he won Celtic the league, but remember his goal against Dundee? He might have scored 2 away to Dundee, but he definitely scored 1, a volley. He probably is the best player at the club because to me, he's certainly, if you take it to like game by game, he is 100% the most consistent. 100% the most consistent out of Kun, Yang, and like, you know, Jota's been in and out. You know, he's and Maeda this year. Like, if he goes, I think I will cry, Maeda, right? But he is the most consistent, 100%. And it's the way it happened. Obviously, people ask questions of the goalkeeper and stuff like that. But see, when you look at it, I don't think James Forrest meant it. His foot is going to like try and get it in the bottom corner, and he sliced
Aye.
it. But obviously, I was more enjoying it more because we had nothing to play for. But what I thought was funny was I thought it right at the death we killed St Mirren's European chances, but Dundee United won anyway.
Mate, see the thing is as well, right? Not to sound like Brendan Rodgers himself, but it does show Forrest's character. Like that is the thing. Like he's going for that record. You're saying the league's obviously wrapped up, nothing really to play for, and with the last kick of the game, he's
I know.
still going, still being direct. Because in the day, he creates a chance for himself, so he's still
Uh,
being direct. He still wants that, and obviously a great moment for him. But he also doesn't want Celtic to lose. Like
no.
because realistically, if you lost it, like you said, it really is a nothing game to Celtic at that point. Like you're saying, the only thing really was to go for that record.
The only thing as well was I think Celtic were 2 goals away from beating the all-time goals scored at home, and that was by or it might be all-time in the league, and that was by the Lisbon Lions. So that was really the only thing to go for. But see as well, I don't think James Forrest personally would have cared, but I think
Mm,
it got to the point where he wanted to do it for everybody else. I mean, see when you actually look at it, the man has scored 1 goal all season. Like, but see when you put it like that, you're like, fuck's sake. But like, watch him bag a cat trick or something. I'm kidding on. I don't think it will be. I think Celtic will go on to the final, but I don't think it will be like a 4 or 5-0 final. But it's But talking about the final, I believe him and Yang have potential deserve a shout to start on Saturday. I'm not even. Did you watch the game? Well, you wouldn't have watched the full game, would you?
nah.
I believe they do. I think Big Ida. I like him. I've stood up for him, but I think him and Kuhn were hopeless on Saturday. I think Maeda up front has to be the shout. I don't care if people go, this will be an easy game. No fight. Look, yes, I'll admit right now I've put 3-0 down, but that 3-0 is like 1-0, 2-0 in the game and a late goal earlier on or 2 late goals.
Yeah.
Celtic played a championship in Inverness side under Ange, and we went 1-0 up just before half time, 2-0 up and then 2-1, and then we scored with the last kick of the ball to make it 3-1. Finals are not easy. Do you know what I mean? And I just think Big Ida, he's not really helped himself, and Kuhn as well. Forrest deserves to start. I thought he was great when he came on. He was great against Aberdeen the other week. And I think Maeda up top has to be a shout. I like Kenny, young striker, but my problem is, do you find somebody that young in a final? Do you know what I mean? If you put him in that and he is a stinker, it's a bad way for him to end the season. Do you know what I mean? So I think you just stick to the players you've relied on all year, and the players I've relied on all year is Maeda. So I would stick Maeda up front with Yang and Forrest. That's my front three for the weekend.
I see that's the thing. It's Scottish football, mate. The way it works is mental, right? Because it's like you're saying, we are talking right now about we spoke about Dessers before, who finished the league's top goal scorer.
Yeah.
We're talking about Ida, who's got 20 goals in all competitions. We're talking about Kuhn, who almost top for assists and obviously scored a barrel load of goals as well.
Yeah.
We're talking about those three players as if they've had poor seasons. But like you're saying, Forrest scores 1 goal. And I know it's like how they actually play. I had the conversation with you last week or 2 weeks ago about how like Maeda, what he brings off the ball. But it's just mental how, as football fans, you've got three players there that have got 50, 60 odd goals between the three of them. But we're talking about a boy that needs to start because he's got 1 league goal.
I know.
Like,
I don't know. I just think Kuhn's I know this makes it mental, right? But the size of pitch might be good for Kuhn the weekend. It's like obviously wide, big pitch handling. Obviously, he played good in the 6-0 semi-final against Aberdeen, but it's mainly Big Ida. Like I have praised him a lot, and the last Celtic Rangers game at Ibrox, I was hounding him like I was, but I remember sitting to my pals and I was like, "You've got to keep Ida on because he's got a big moment in him."
Aye.
Like, yes, it was an own goal, but the young boys' goal in the Champions League, that goal at Ibrox, the goal in the cup final last year, the goal at Ibrox last year to put us 3-2 up. He's got these big moments in him. The goals at Motherwell and Hibs, but I just think it's not about the big moments you've got. It's about how you've played, and I thought he was really poor at the weekend. But yeah, unlucky to St Mirren. Another great job by Stevie Robinson. It would have been amazing if he got them in. And see, to be honest, I want them to get
Aye.
because the game I was going to talk about next was Hibs and Hibs Rangers, but the reason I wanted St Mirren to actually get European football was because Aberdeen are embarrassing. And see if Aberdeen win on Saturday, they're going to come for me. But embarrassing. First of all, not just for their performances, because do you know Aberdeen got more points in the first 12 games than what they did for the rest of the year?
I
Embarrassing.
heard that, mate. That's mental.
Embarrassing. They were 9 points ahead of Rangers going for the title against Celtic, and they've ended up in fifth place. Fifth place. Their fans are flinging stuff on the pitch and hitting their own players, so that's why I'm going for them here. And it's just a terrible, terrible way to end the season. And trust me, by the way, seeing his first 5 to 10 games next year, if he doesn't win maybe 5 or 6 of them, he's gone. He's 100%
Mate,
gone.
I think honestly, right, he needs, if he only wins 2 games out of 5 starting next season, he's gone. I think he'll only get 5 games to prove himself. He'll get
How
August
does
and he'll
that
maybe get
happen?
September.
Like, how does that happen? How do you win that many games, go to Parkhead 2-0 down and bring it back to 2 each, actually go 3-2 up and it's given us offside? But how does it happen? How do
Mate, I
you...
think he's either, it's one or two things, mate. He's either tried to overcomplicate it, where he's came in and then he's decided, you know what, that this is not too easy, but he's like, right, I'm going to start making little tweaks and everything. Like, I've came in, everything's going my way. He started to make tweaks here and there, and it's came back to bite him. Or the other option is that teams just started to figure him out. He's came in as an unknown. He started to play style of football, but he's got players like Devlin that were flying. He then drops them. He's got players like Shaden Morris, great player. Anytime I've watched him play, he's looked sharp, especially against the kind of the bigger two. He drops him. I just don't understand it. Like, he's making alterations that seem as if they don't need to be done. They don't need to be made. I mean, mate, to be honest, it's like you say, it's embarrassing. I really don't know how Aberdeen have went for conversations of, like you're saying, being title challengers, like genuine title contenders, and Rangers have still finished miles ahead of them in second.
I
Not
think
just drop off title contenders, mate, to drop down to second, down to third, and then the final day, struggling to actually make Europe.
mate,
It's criminal.
like, if St Mirren were on Saturday, they would have still finished sixth. Obviously, they needed Dundee United to lose, but it's just wild, man. And look, I know they could go out and win on Saturday. Like, I'm still a believer in that. Like, they could. It's a final, but and look, I'm not slaughtering all Aberdeen fans. I wasn't even slaughtering Aberdeen fans. It's going to sound like I'm backtracking here, but what I mean is, but first of all, the throwing things on the pitch are a disgrace. Like, somebody said to me, if they were an Aberdeen player and that happened, they would have walked out the club the next day. But I'm like, come on, man, you've got to get your money. But
At the end of the day, mate, you
basically,
can't. It's hard to do that. You can't group a whole fan base on
I know,
one person. Do you know what I mean?
but the guy who done it, if he had a ticket for the final, he needs to get it taken off him. That's what I think. It's a shame
Yeah,
because
mate.
as you say,
To be fair, he'd have some fucking trophy at the day out of the final, man, with that shitty running track. If
but
he wanted to cause
I
damage.
know, but it is just one fan, and one fan, that's the reality. It's not all Aberdeen fans that done it, but I just don't get how you can be so angry that your thought process is to fling a seat at somebody. Like, get a grip, man. Get a grip of yourself. Just get on with it.
Mate,
Like,
you'd imagine as well, right? See to get a seat out, you must be using some force. Surely someone around him looked at him and went, maybe we shouldn't be allowing this. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, it
a
needs.
full away section And people have watched this guy fucking wrestle to get a chair out of cement and went, probably should stop this at some point, but everyone's going, nah, he'll stop it. He's not going to do it. It's
Well, the
mate,
SFA
how
need to do something because that's. Look, I'm not just going, but it's just examples I can think of. That's twice in this season at Ibrox, right? Engels has been hit with a coin. Sinisalo had multiple objects thrown at him, and obviously now that there as well. So that and obviously it's going to take something life threatening, I think, for it to stop. But it needs
the thing
to
is, mate, that although we're kind of, you probably shouldn't be, I know we're kind of like trying to make light of it, but it's definitely a serious situation where
Yeah,
I know we're saying that something, but mate, getting hit with a chair, with how heavy they are, with the force that's been thrown at that, it's like that way where it's that way if you get punched, depending how you land. Much the same, mate. Depending where that chair hit him, it could have been not just life threatening, but do you know what I mean? It's a horrible situation that does need to get addressed. Um, Usually you see with situations like that, I think Aberdeen as a club have actually got away lucky because you see a lot of these situations in Europe, whatever it may be, an incident that's not even severe as that can often lead to stand closures,
yeah.
which you could still see maybe going into next season if the SFA sit and properly review it. They might say, look, for the first home game or maybe the first away game, Aberdeen aren't allowed any fans. But the problem is the SFA just look at money, so they're not going to turn around and do that for a cup final.
I know I'm laughing because I'm a great believer in fans come first, fan enjoyment. But what do you think of the pitch invasion for fourth place? What do you think of the pitch invasion for ninth place with Dundee, man? Dundee need to get sorted out here. What do you think
To
of
be
that?
fair, mate, I actually understand the Dundee one more than the Dundee United.
Do you? What?
Mate,
I
because
understand
you've
the Dundee
avoided.
United more.
Nah, because he's a like so Dundee just avoided relegation on the final day, right? You've got to times they look dead and buried. So to have a pitch invasion for a club the size of Dundee, obviously they finished sixth last year. Oh, it's not been a good season. The pitch invasion for staying up, the money, everything that does for Dundee. We've seen so many clubs in the Premiership get relegated and struggle to bounce back. Obviously, Falkirk just got promotion for the first time in 15 odd years. If Dundee go down, it could look bleak. Like we said earlier on with St Johnstone, they now run that risk of going down and not getting promotion straight away. Dundee United, either got Europe, they had Europe 2 seasons ago, or maybe, I don't know if it was but look how they turned up against AZ Alkmaar and get fucking scudded. So it's a great moment, right? It's fantastic. But a pitch invasion for getting fourth can get fucked.
Well, to be fair to them, but fair play for getting fourth because they have just came up. But yeah, we're going to need to look back at that last show because, as I said, I have lost my bit of paper. But I think you agreed with me when we said Dundee United next year would finish bottom six.
I
Maybe with
stand by it.
the run of Europe now because we'll have to play these qualifiers, and it's a great shout apparently that clubs struggle with these qualifiers. For example, Kilmarnock. So, well done to Dundee United in getting fourth. Well done to Aberdeen in
Well,
getting third.
before we move on for them to, it got announced over the week that Sam Dalby is not signing a contract extension with Wrexham.
I
So
was going to say,
he's a free
that.
agent. He's a free agent. He's only 25, mate. I thought he was a wee bit older. We link everyone to, the kind of old firm, but let's say hypothetically, say Shanklin goes to Rangers, do Hearts go in for a Dalby? I think yes.
Hearts will, but do you know who I think? Do you know I think who should go into him? And I feel that me and you are always so opposite when it comes to teams. Like so for example, right last week, right. First of all, if the viewers didn't know, I'm a Celtic fan and Rangers and Brooklyn is a St Mirren fan, right? Rangers fan, right? I thought maybe St Mirren would be better for you. Last week we said teams out with Old Firm would win a cup. You said Hearts and I said Hibs, right? Just there, you said the Dundee pitch invasion was more worthy, and I said the Dundee United one was more worthy, right?
And now you're going to say that Sam Dalby goes to Hibs?
Honestly, right? So my point to this was, if a team, right, want to try and split the Old Firm, right, and if Hibs want to try and do that, and I know Hearts want to try and do it, but as of right now, Hibs have got a better chance of doing it. They've kept Boyle, right? They've got good players. See, they've got that Bowie. I'm not sure if Bowie's on loan actually. But say that Bowie's not
No,
on
no, Bowie's
right.
a product of Pibs.
If you want to try and split the Old Firm and keep that up, I believe you need to just pay the money and have somebody like a Sam Dalby and go, look, mate, you might need to sit on the bench, and then see if he starts playing well, you go like that to Bibby. Look, mate, you need to sit on the bench. I think Hibs is a no-brainer to go in for Sam Dalby.
To be honest, we're saying this, mate. It'll be sod's law. He'll move to a team in the Championship. Like mate, he's an English boy. He's played for Wrexham in the English Pyramid. I think a team lower Championship will probably sign him on a free. Maybe if they had to pay a fee for him, you wouldn't have seen it. But I think he'll go. I think he'll stay down south, mate. To be honest, but I'd like to see him in the Premiership. I'd like to see him in. Obviously, Dundee United finish fourth, but maybe on paper a bigger or a more attacking team. To be honest, mate, at this point, I'd fucking take him at Rangers in a free contract, but I could see him at one of the Edinburgh sides, definitely. I think if he's going to come back.
I think somebody in Scotland should go for him, but I think Hibs is a no-brainer to go for him, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
Well, speaking of the Highbees, obviously they've finished a great finish to the season. You know, the most fucking controversial goal that was never given in Scottish football stood at the weekend. Mate, I've ranted about referees on this before so many times, and I actually can't get my head around how that wasn't given.
Because it wasn't a goal.
How was it not a goal?
I'm kidding on. Have it not right there, where are you?
Mate, I think fucking Pollock for the sounds of it, man.
No, I know. There's nothing I can say apart from. I think what's even worse is remember the other week. Remember the Old Firm, right, where Ademida missed that chance, and literally the worst thing that could have happened to him was Rangers
ran up and scored.
The worst thing that could have happened for the referee there was the other team went up and scoring, and that's the exact thing that fucking happened.
But right, so I don't understand. Fair enough if not get goal line technology, but why was it not? Why did they not go with VR and go for the passage of play?
You might actually shoot me through the screen here. I did read somewhere that VAR only picks up to the goal line.
Right, but even at that, surely. But mate, there's fucking mate. There is fucking there is 3 or 4 clowns sitting in that fucking caravan. Mate, there's 3 or 4 clowns sitting in that fucking caravan watching that on so many replays, mate. They can pick up on fucking anything. They'll rewind it back as far as they want if they want to disallow something, but they can't rewind it far enough to award a fucking clear goal.
That is honking. Mate, to be fair.
So it's criminal, but because that's the thing, right? I'm not going to claim corruption. I'm not going to claim any of that. I've said before, the referees are just mate. The referees are just shocking. That is a problem, mate. I don't think they actually have. They don't actually have a preference. They don't favour any team. They're just fucking shite.
Aye, they
are. I honestly think all 12 clubs in the league could go back and review their season, get a fucking lawyer in, and they'd probably find about 12 points each that they've dropped because of poor VAR decisions, whether it be a red card that wasn't a red that should have been given, a goal that should have stood, a penalty. Mate, you could honestly sit, get a fucking lawyer and get an analyst in, and every single team in the league would have an argument for how a ref has fucked them over at some point or another in this season multiple times.
I know.
We need, send the fucking referee.
If that goal stood, it would have only brought the league to 14 points, but to be fair.
Mate, see, and then see at that point.
It's the principle, but it is a terrible decision.
Mate, so that's the thing, right?
Do you think we need to get them mic'd up? Do you think that would be or do you think that would infuriate fans more?
Mate, send them to summer camp. See what you do with wee boys and all that, and wee girls when you send them away and do a wee summer camp and play football. Send referees to that fucking shit, mate. Because we can't keep going on as a league like this, because what happens, and it has actually been evident, the standard of refereeing in leagues, whether it be Scotland, England, wherever it may be, compared to European referees, is completely different how the game's managed.
Well, I was going to say, see, last night, you might disagree with me because you supported one of the teams. I thought the referee in the Europa League final last night was excellent.
Mate, so that's the thing. I do agree. I think he let the game go. There was maybe 1 or 2 fouls for each side. I thought Dorgu Got lucky not to give away a foul more because I had a bet on him. But the referee, mate, in the European final, I think actually had a really good account of himself. But the amount of times, again, Scottish teams play in Europe and they get penalties that you don't usually get in the league, or you get fouls, and it can go for you, it can go against you. But at least with the standard refereeing, there's usually a wee bit of justification in it. You can kind of see where they're coming from.
Look
And
at
it's a bit.
just quickly, sorry. Look at the. Did you watch Celtic v Bayern Munich?
Nah, mate, I'll be honest, I didn't.
Kuhn scored 20 seconds in, right? I'm going to be honest. Killed me. Referee killed me. That was probably the best 20 seconds of my life. And I have a lot of 20 seconds anyway, I'll tell you that. But within genuinely the same amount of time Celtic took to score against Bayern Munich, the whistle was blown, the offside was checked, and the game started again. That's how quick it is in Europe. That is how, and that's still at Celtic Park. That's none of this mad fucking what do you call it? Is it automated offsides or whatever you call it? That's not that shit.
Aye.
That is still at Celtic Park. It is just the confidence, and do you know what? The arrogance but Scottish referees are probably arrogant, but they're not arrogant. They're just cunts, probably. Do you know what I mean?
Mate, do you know, I left the midweek game where we played Dundee United there and we get the penalty. I left that game and I say straight away, what has happened to Scottish football is running a risk of becoming embarrassing. And the reason I was saying that was because referees no longer want to make decisions. It's like the amount of times, so like us as general people, the amount of people that use AI now, especially if you're on like Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, all the comments are that fucking ask Rock, is this true, blah blah blah. Referees are doing essentially the same thing. Referees are now too scared to give anything on the pitch because they know a referee miles away is going to pick it up for them. The penalty against Dundee United was a stone waller. The boy came into the back of Diamande. Everyone in the stadium seen it. Even Dundee United fans could see it. The referee doesn't give it just because he knows it's going to go to VAR. He knows that if he's made a mistake, VAR will go, mate, you should probably go look at that. That could be a penalty. And then he can go, oh, well, I was justified. I didn't really see it. But now I've rewatched the replay. I'm going to give it. The referees are becoming over-reliant, and that's the thing, like you're saying. The European referees will be willing to make the choice, make the decision, and then use VAR. Yeah. They'll make the decision on pitch, and then if they're wrong, they'll get corrected. The referees in our league are actually letting VAR make the decisions for them at this point, and that's a dangerous game.
I don't know if Rangers got it in the Europa League, but seeing the Champions League against Bayern Munich and against Young Boys where Maeda gets sent off, it came up on the screen. Like, see against Bayern Munich, right? Engels get fouled in the box, but it turns out the Bayern Munich defender took the ball first. It actually came up on the screen like number 26 was in control of the ball before contact was made with the player.
See.
But what would that come up on the screen at Easter Road? We have fucked up. Do you know what I mean? Like, what would that happen? But mate,
that's it. Like it's a shambles.
Look at the Nottingham Forest striker. You know how this whole thing where like, they don't blow for the offside until he get put in an induced coma, and I think he's out of it now. Obviously, hopefully he feels better. But just simple wee stuff like that, and that was always the shout. See when the referee took too long to blow the whistle, and it's like somebody's going to get injured badly, and
someone's going to get hurted.
so these are the sort of things that like, but obviously, I need to put like my mutual hat on here, and I don't like. Obviously, I'm on a football show now, and I need to be impartial. It is a honking decision, but the main thing is, it was the end of the season. I mean, if it was mid-season, it would have been a bigger fucking meltdown and bigger problem. So thank God, for the referee's sake, thank God he's away on holiday now, probably. Well, I hope he's no refereeing on Saturday. I tell you that right now. Who was it? Was it Nick Walsh?
Mate, I think so, mate. But I'm just going to blame Nick Walsh anyway, because he just keeps making horrendous decisions. But swiftly moving on to horrendous decisions, Rangers obviously announced that a lot of the players, I think 6 of them, including some loan players, are away. And it's the most Rangers situation ever. We bring in loan players all the time with obligations to buy who are duds. Casemiro was one. He was injured for a lot of the season, but wait, it was a Dutch defender that we brought in for PSV. So he played at the start. What?
Did they play at all recently?
He played near the end of the season, mate. So what had happened was he started the season with us, and I think he ruptured his ACL, or he got quite a bad injury, maybe his
Oh, I
hamstring,
remember him. I do
and
remember
he
him.
was out. He was out for a while, and he came back in. But what he showed, he's a young boy, and what he showed was he could play left back, right back, or centre back, and he looked really comfortable on the ball. And it's the most Rangers thing ever that one of the only decent loan players we bring in, we don't have an obligation. And he's now away back to PSV. Cherny, I think every Rangers fan knew he'd be away. We've still got a chance we could sign him. I
I'd
don't
take
see
him
it
to
happening.
Celtic. I'm not even kidding on. I'd take
Mate,
him
I
to
think
Celtic.
he's a great player. I'd love to have him back, but do Rangers with everything that needs done? Do we have 6 million? The takeover's not happened yet. Even if it does, how much money are they going to be able to put in straight away? I don't see Cherny coming back. That one's more understandable because it's what?
Oh,
Oh, what you said something. Mate, again, one of those mate, it's the heat, mate. It's the heat's thrown us off. But aye, Cherny, you always can expect it to leave, but for me, right, I think it's a shambles that Haji's been able to run down his contract, and it's not even Haji's fault. Haji's made it clear multiple times how much he loves Rangers, how much he wants to stay. He is one of those players that he shows glimpses at points, but it's someone as well that we brought in for 3.5 million. Someone that's had some big moments at the club, and someone as well who at one point was touted for a big move. It was never the kind of 10, 15 millions, but it was a profit, at least something that Rangers struggle to do. And it's once again a player that we've brought in for 3.5 million. Obviously, it was well documented. He had high wages, whatever. He then waived that. He wanted to get rid of the appearance bonus, which was a sticking issue. Wanted to play for the club. He's ran down his contract again, not through choice, and Rangers are yet again paid 3.5 million. Whatever he paid in his wages, probably about £10 million asset over the last couple of years, allowed to go for free. You look at them Balogun, someone who he's getting on, but someone that made it clear he wanted to stay at the club. So much so, I would bet he'd probably have been willing to take a wage cut. He was always aware he wasn't going to be a starter, so he was a great squad player. We've let him go on a free again. I don't understand what the Rangers transfer policy situation is because you look right now and Rangers don't have squad depth. It's the one thing they don't have. Why you've let Balogun, who wanted to stay at the club, who wasn't, like I say, probably a top earner, run down his contract and let him go on a free. I'm clueless at this point.
well, they need to get it sorted. They need see these £3 million players. They need to get them right. I mean, look at Celtic with Kuhn. He was about the same price as Hadji, and in a season and a half at Celtic, he has done way more goals wise, assist wise, and trophy wise than Hadji has for Rangers, and he's been there for maybe 3 or 4 seasons now. So that's the signings they need to get right. Yeah, if you're going to have this money, go buy a player for 8 million, because 9 times out of 10, your £8 million player will do enough. Like, so, for example, right, Ida is not worth £9 million, but has he technically done enough for that price tag? Yes, because he's scored in cup finals, he's scored in Champions Leagues, he has scored 20 goals this season. Technically, now in football, that is enough for £9 million. If Rangers need to sign maybe 1 or 2 players for maybe 8 million above when they get this money in, they need to make sure they get that money back. But it's the players for the 2 millions, the 3 millions, the 4 millions that they need to get right, because you're going to sign more players for that amount than what you are for the other amount. So you might sign 6 players for 4 million. Pretty much 5 of them need to be solid starting 11 players. And that's obviously what they've been making mistakes on. I mean, the only reason I would take Cherny at Celtic is they need somebody to spray the champagne. That's what I'm going to say. No, I'm kidding on. I maybe would. But at the same time, I've just kind of bigged up Forest. And so what would be the point in Celtic having a Cherny when they've got a Kuhn who's probably, because he's dipping for him, is probably not going to leave this summer. So you've got a Kuhn, a Forest. If Celtic's not going to go for Cherny, right, they're no going to. But if they did, he's going to be like, I'm not coming to be third choice. But I don't see Kuhn being third choice, and I don't see Forest being third choice. But it's poor for Rangers, and obviously the manager thing. By the time this goes out, who knows? But I mean, it's actually going out on Friday. But I'm going to have the I'm going to have the bold shout. Steven Gerrard being the manager. That's what I'm going to.
I think everything is pointing towards that, which I'm confused because the club came out with a statement, obviously saying that whoever was going to come in wasn't going to have any kind of history with Rangers, which makes me think, was Ancelotti the favourite? Was Ancelotti basically who they hung their hat on? He turned around and said he's going to Brazil, and we've came out with egg in our face. I'll
Is
be
it
happy if
you that people are that they're technically turning down this job?
I think there definitely is. I think it's some people won't want to risk their reputation, especially.
But do you think
And
he's really got a reputation? Do you know what I mean? Like that could maybe be a good thing for him because
but that's the problem is he's obviously been worked at massive clubs. He's been the assistant. You need to get your first job right as a manager. You need to go into the right club, the right setup. Is he looking at Rangers and going, it's too big a gamble? I think there's every chance when he could realistically go, got to say, be the assistant to the Brazil national team. If they now that people know he wants to become a manager, if Brazil go on and win the World Cup next year, which there's a good chance with Ancelotti and the squad that they have, then obviously does a son, the other Ancelotti. I think he then you could see where Championship or Premier League sides take a gamble on him and you'll have promoted one, say by that point. You know, if Southampton are going to be the yo-yo club. Southampton like to take risks. They're linked with Danny Rowe, another candidate who was linked with Rangers. That shows that they're quite happy to go and take these sort of gambles. So you could see that a Premier League side comes in for him. But I think Ancelotti, he'll stay at Brazil. He'll see out the World Cup. He'll weigh up his options, and I think it will be Gerrard in the dugout next year.
Yeah, which will be interesting because obviously I know they stopped the 10, but I just kind of am looking at this for a football thing, right? So if COVID never happened, you're more likely looking that Gerrard was going to get sacked because he ended up falling 13 points behind Celtic. They lost at home to Hamilton. COVID came in, kind of stopped that. Obviously, COVID, Rangers won the league, and I'm not just saying that was because of COVID. Obviously, Celtic were stinking that year. But Rangers did start to dip a wee bit. I know that he was in charge of Rangers when they beat Ange.
We were 7 points clear when he left.
I'm pretty sure he had
We were
COVID.
7 points clear.
But why did he leave then? So this is my point. I believe he knew. I
Oh,
believe he
Shay.
knew he wouldn't have won the league.
Shay, fuck off.
So look at this,
Shay.
right, as well. Look at this
Shay.
as well.
Shay.
He failed at Villa where he get money. He failed at Villa where he get money. He failed at Saudi where he get money. I know every cunt gets money in Saudi. I don't believe Gerrard is the right appointment for Rangers. I do not believe that at all.
I think right now he is. I'll be honest. I think right now he's the right appointment. I think he left because it was well documented. He always wanted to be a Liverpool manager. Aston Villa were getting a lot of investment, like you said. He looked at it and probably thought, if I do well with Villa, if I get them top four, which they're now doing under Emery, if I get them top four, then I'm in contention for a Liverpool job. He would have known that Klopp was planning on leaving, you know, in a couple of seasons' time. So I think it wasn't that he jumped ship essentially. I think he just obviously he's a Liverpool guy. Everyone knows it. He's a one club man. I think he just that was that in his head that was the pathway. I think he's now probably came to terms that that's either one never going to happen or two it's not going to happen anytime soon. He loved his time at Rangers. He loved the fans. He loved everything about it. He's seen probably as well. He's probably looked at it and seen that, you know, Rodgers left, Rodgers came back. What he's doing now, he's probably looking at it and going, I can do the same thing.
I don't know. I just felt like he was getting found out a wee bit. And from Rangers fans that I have since spoke to with him leaving, and this was like months ago when it was obvious Clement was going to leave. A few of them. So I'm going to say I spoke to like fucking 3 or 4 Rangers fans, right? I would say like it was like 2 would never have took him back and 2 would have. I just feel like he was getting found out a bit. And look, obviously, you don't give a fuck because he stopped the 10. But I think stuff like that needs to be remembered. Like, he was about to be sacked, and it wasn't like he saved his Rangers career. COVID happened. Like, he was about to be sacked. He was 13 points behind and lost at home to Hamilton. And there was an old firm coming up that, yes, it's all if, buts, and maybes, but there were no firm coming up, and if Celtic win that, they go 16 points clear, and he would have been gone. So
But the thing
I
is,
think
mate, but that exactly. So I think how far ahead you were at that point, and then the complete turnaround. Well, the following season we then go unbeaten. I understand what you're saying, that he could have potentially lost his job, but the thing is, he didn't. And you've got to look at what actually happened in the turnaround that he gave that squad. Again, people say no fans, no whatever. You always hear those arguments, but at the end of the day, the season happened, COVID happened, it can't be helped. To
he's
go
got to come
unbeaten,
back a better
that
manager
is,
as well, surely.
mate, I think that's the thing. No, people genuinely forget that we went unbeaten that season. We only conceded something like, I don't even know if it was as many as 12 league goals. I think it might have been single digits we conceded. People just keep going COVID, COVID, COVID. The stats that that team produced cannot, like, it can't be underestimated.
So can
Like,
I ask this then? Why, if that, see when the team produced it that year, surely champions keep producing. Why could they not do that? What happened?
again, mate, I told you we were 7 points clear the following season. Come Christmas, he left, and that's when it started to go downhill. But that same squad that he left then made a European final. I think that's one of the things for Rangers fans as well. The squad that he came in and inherited compared to the one he left us with, some of the recruitment that he was the one that brought in, Jack, Kamara, Aribo, that at Arfield, the 3 or 4 midfielders on the main rotations, Ryan Kent, who he knew for the Liverpool Academy, he built a squad that he left in good hands. And his interview it's turned around for Rangers fans for years now is the quote that you've got to rebuild the roof. Well, I can't remember the exact word, and I've absolutely butchered it there. But I think it's like you've got to rebuild the roof. I think you've got to rebuild the roof when the sun's still shining. I think it was something along those lines. Saying to the club, look, this is our chance to go on and do what Celtic have done since he left. This is our chance to capitalise and dominate the league. But we need the right investment. And we brought in Bacuna on a free.
I think I obviously said to you, I think Celtic will still dominate, but what I think will happen is we've won 4 now. Rangers might win 1, Celtic might win 2, Rangers might win 1, Celtic might win 3. I think you're looking at a good 5 to 8 years before Rangers do a league double. I know this investment's coming in, but people are forgetting Celtic have got money too. They've been putting this in the bank. Celtic have not been daft for the money they've been earning. And it's not a coincidence they've started spending now. They would have known about this investment long before the rest of the world did. So that's my opinion on that. It's not a coincidence Celtic have just decided to go bang, $11 million on a midfielder, bang, $9 million on a striker, bang, $6 million or $9 million on Trusty. They would have known about this Rangers investment, but they'll have a lot of money as well. So it'll be interesting, but I think you're maybe talking. I believe there will be title challenges, but I think it's going to be another 2 years or 3 years until Rangers possibly grab a league title. But it'll be interesting to see if it is Gerrard. Obviously, both of us believe it will be. So yeah, that sums everything up regarding the football. And I'll just quickly say, Brooklyn did win the prediction thing. Obviously, we only got maybe 8 games out yet, so next year it'll be a lot higher scoring because we'll try and do it every week. We'll do it for cup games as well. We'll maybe add in some more stuff that we could maybe put like a bet on together, and we could do it on the show for the weekend, and then we put it on when we're actually doing the show, and maybe win some money and donate it to charity. Maybe we'll see. For those of you listening, I did just wink to Brooklyn because we are a charity. I'm kidding on it. Would go to the podcast at a big studio and stuff like that. But obviously there is still one more game, and that is the Celtic Aberdeen game in the Scottish Cup final. What would be your predictions for that? I've got mine written down, so straight away I've put a 3-0 Celtic.
Well, before I talk, so we've been talking for quite a long time compared to our recent episodes. Fun fact: Aberdeen have not won the cup since 1990. So 35 years, and if we're going off this season, Bologna, Palace, Tottenham, a lot of clubs are
Newcastle as well, yeah.
Newcastle, Go Ahead Eagles. It seems that every single club's breaking that hoodoo. So it is in Aberdeen's favour, but I think Celtic with the potential of having a treble, End of season party. I think they're going to be too strong. To be honest, mate, I don't even see Aberdeen scoring. I really don't.
I think maybe if Celtic weren't going for a treble, but I'm just like, this Celtic team and this Celtic manager is not allowing an
Aye,
Aberdeen side to stop the party.
mate, I can see it being a 2 or 3 now. Like I say, I don't think it's going to be as convincing as some of the games that they have played out. The 5-1s. I think there's a 6-0 at one point. I don't think it's going to be as heavy hitting as that, because Aberdeen, it is a final at the end of the day, and it's like you said earlier on, Inverness, they've produced a shock. That there's not to say that Aberdeen, they've still got to turn up. The players still know it's a final, but it's really hard to look past Celtic in
Yeah,
any competition nowadays. Never mind a final that allows them to do a treble.
yeah. And I've also put Forrest to score. I believe he'll get an RB one in the final. He always, he likes a goal against Aberdeen, and he likes a goal in a final.
I think Cal McGregor scores.
Callum McGregor, okay. He has scored quite a few this season, to be fair, Captain Callum McGregor. But so aye, that sums us up. So do you have anything to say to the viewers? We'll only be a couple of weeks away probably, but anything to say, obviously, to the
Just again, if anyone, I think we've had quite a few kind of controversial opinions as ever, so it'll be
yes,
interesting to see how everyone feels about that. But it's one of those ones. If there's nothing stopping, obviously, as if any kind of breaking news comes out, we'll probably be posting it on our social medias, whether it be Twitter or TikTok. Just kind of any, especially the managerial kind of merry-go-round as such. There'll be a lot of appointments, a lot of breaking news. So we'll be trying to post as much of that as possible on other platforms. So definitely keep an eye out for it. And again, if anyone's got anything they want to talk about going into the new season, or kind of anything that we might have missed this season, then kind of let us know so we can try and pick up on it.
yep. So thanks to everybody. Obviously, 11 episodes, and we started kind of at the last quarter of the season. Obviously, the first one I done myself, then Brooklyn came on board. But next year, we're 100% going to get some guests on to join us, whether that's players, former managers, or just people in the footballing world. We're 100% going to do that. And yeah, just obviously at the bottom of the screens is our Twitter handle, so follow us on Twitter. And I'm sure you maybe come across me and Brooklyn on TikTok. And Pyramid Promotions also do have a TikTok page that we're going to get going for next year as well. So thanks everybody for listening and watching, and have a good weekend and have a good summer, and we'll catch you in a bit. Cheers.
Yeah, mate. Thank you.